Let's go. Let's play Would You Rather, okay?
Love that.
So this is the same Would You Rather as there ever was. I'm going to give you two choices. They might both be good. They might both be bad. But I would like to hear personally why you want to eat the shit sandwich that you choose.
Okay.
That's kind of a dirty term.
I don't like it.
That's kind of like a boomer. That's like boomer rage on like Wall Street. All right. First up, which feel-good story about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer does it for you this week?
It's not a movie I ever watch on Netflix.
Okay.
It's not my favorite.
Well, we're going to talk about Netflix later this week,
All
too.
right.
All right. First, so what supply chain inflation crisis says Walmart and Target? These two giant big box stores, according to the Wall Street Journal, have more inventory and more revenue than ever. And part of the reason why is that small retailers just can't even compete. So as small retailers can't get merchandise because the cost of shipping is too high or the cost of the goods themselves are too high, Walmart and Target, again, according to the Wall Street Journal, are chartering entire container ships with all of the world's inventory to stock their shelves. In fact, it's a problem. Meanwhile, the rich get richer, the rich get richer, the rich get richer. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
I definitely got a lot of student loans from them. Yes.
PJ, you remember Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
Unfortunately.
We'll get into that. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy mortgages. Government-sponsored enterprise buys mortgages from people. It's basically a government subsidy for people to go buy houses. Starting next year, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will be subsidizing mortgages up to $1 million. So taxpayer subsidies for people buying homes up to $1 million.
So it's not that buying mortgages is the new part. It's the fact that now they're backing even larger loans?
Right. So they're adjusting the baseline. and the
How is that a subsidy? Isn't a subsidy like a thing that you just give someone, like food stamps is a subsidy to feed you? How is this a subsidy?
Well, it's if I guarantee you, if I'm the government and I buy a loan from you, the bank, then I am taking all the risks off your books and I'm making it the taxpayer's risk. So you don't have to worry about lending to the wrong people.
So if I'm the bank and I lent money to our producer Brian to pay for a house, I agree. And then Brian defaults because Erupt doesn't pay him enough, then you're the one that has my back?
So if producer Brian defaults on his mortgage, the bank doesn't have to bear that cost. So that means that the actuary tables, the price is much lower for them to issue that loan.
I want to be the bank.
Right. Cool. You don't want to be the taxpayer. You want to be the bank. So this is we're getting lost. This is a very long way of explaining why actuary tables, the interest rates on loans, will be lower for people buying $1 million houses next year than they are this year.
Which is good for people that live in LA because we can't afford jack shit here.
Okay, so there we are. We've backed into the argument. It is an affordable housing question for large cities. Yes. So let me pose the question. I'll give you. You know what? I'm going to give Pratik the first whack at it.
I want Pratik to have it.
I'm going to give him the first whack at it. Okay, so when we're talking about the rich getting richer, Pratik, would you rather know that the government is subsidizing their $1 million homes, or would you rather know that the big box retailers are about to have the best holiday Christmas season of their lives because mom and pop stores are just out of business?
Well, I take more issue with the housing subsidy, and the reason is that when you have this kind of cronyism, there's an ideology behind it, and the ideology is this notion that the American dream involves people owning homes. The reason why I find that particularly problematic is that if you look at the direction the world's going with more interconnectivity and mobility and so forth, I would argue that the American people actually should not be encouraged to own a home. They should be encouraged to be mobile and go where different opportunities are, and not get tied out down in an expensive home.
I'm kind of on his side.
Oh my God, I love that, Pratik.
I mean, like, why are we subsidizing people to stay in Los Angeles and San Francisco and New York City? Like, why not buy twice as big of a house and start a business in Kansas City or St. Louis or something?
If our producers are watching us, this is why I'm going to move to Colorado and then just work remotely for this show.
But hold on. I feel like I'm doing an unfair job of simping for this Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac thing, because at the end of the day, if you're going to buy a house in St. Louis or Kansas City, there's got to be a business there. And if Walmart and Target is putting everyone out of business.
No, and that's a really big deal too. Like, as an immigrant, I understand that what immigrants come and do, like the idea of the American dream that they buy into is moving to the US and starting a business. Actually, Cubans have the highest rate of cell phone businesses of the entire Hispanic immigrant population. So like businesses are a part of our DNA. And if basically Walmart is so big right now that it basically can't fail and it's putting the rest of us out of competition, that's painful for my people.
I mean, it's sort of a misnomer, right? Like, one of these things is the government, right? The mortgage subsidies. The other is a weird private sector thing that the government's trying to address. Like,
but I think that's important too. I mean, like if the government is always going to subsidize some of these loans for mortgages, and the question is just, should they be subsidizing $1 million loans in super expensive cities like San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles? I think that makes sense. You have to adjust the benchmark with the ages.
Well, okay, let me put it this way, Pratik. What is like the bigger bill that you think society will have to pay because of this moment we live in now? Do you think it's the next kind of 2008 asset bubble that blows up, maybe because of issuing $1 million loans to people who aren't qualified for them? Or do you think it's this general kind of just consolidation in the American economy, of which these big box retailers being able to stay in business while everyone else is folding because of this supply chain crunch? Like, what keeps you up at night in your libertarian brain?
Look, to be clear, I don't like a lot of the policies that are causing seemingly the consolidation. But that said, I'm not worried about consolidation in and of itself. I mean, if these big retailers are able to deliver goods and services in a way that's efficient, that's fine. And I think that the future of small business anyway is probably more niche, more online. Small businesses inherently just can adapt a little bit better. So even though I don't like why it happened, I'm not too worried about it going forward.
All right.
Interesting.
All right.
Interesting.
All right. So you'd rather have big box retailers in the driver's seat? I guess I kind of would too.